Hey, it's Austin James. Yes, I'm living with diabetes, but it doesn't have to define me. Thanks to the Freestyle Libre 3 Plus sensor, I get real-time glucose readings throughout the day. The Freestyle Libre 3 Plus sensor is small and easy to wear, giving me the freedom to focus on my life as a parent and a musician. Now this is progress. You can get a free sensor at freestylelibre.us.
Offer available for people who qualify. Visit myfreestyle.us to see all terms and conditions. Certain exclusions apply. Data on file. Abbott Diabetes Care. For prescription only. Safety info found at freestylelibre.us.
Sephora's biggest sale of the year is on. Get 20% off the best gifts, including makeup from brands like Rare Beauty.
Oh my gosh, thank you.
20% off skincare from brands like Glow Recipe and Summer Fridays.
These are my fave.
20% off hair care like Way and K18.
I'm obsessed.
And 20% off fragrances like Valentino, Donna, Born, and Roma.
So good.
20% off your purchase, now through December 15th. Shop now at Sephora and Sephora at Kohl's.
Hey, I'm Amanda from Trifecta Fitness. We're proud to be Clarksville's new Get Fit headquarters. Trifecta Fitness is a state-of-the-art spin and strength training studio. Our spin studio is truly one of a kind in this area, complete with 20 state-of-the-art live fitness bikes and an incredible sound system. Our strength training is done in small groups of 6 or fewer, and all of our strength and spin classes are scalable for every level of experience. Come see us in the heart of Clarksville, just behind MAPCO at the corner of Old Trenton Road and Wilma Rudolph Boulevard. Call us for more info at 931-542-6265 or download our Trifecta Fitness app for a full list of upcoming classes.
All right. Welcome back.
Misfit Nation, the Misfit Nation Show.
We are a show founded by a veteran and hosted by 2 veterans and a military spouse. Our mission is to get people to tell their stories to the world. If you're an author, share your tips with the Misfit Nation. If you're a musician or an actor, our audience need to know how they too can get into the business. Coaches, we love our coaches. Come on and share your tips with the Misfit Nation to help them become better versions of themselves. If you are a corporate leader or an entrepreneur, come on and show how you did it and how hard you have fought for success. If you are a veteran, first responder, or Gold Star family, we would love to have you come on and share your story with the Misfit Nation. We always have time for you. If you're feeling down, alone, or starting to see the darkness, stop. Think about those who are around you. You are not alone. You will be missed. If you feel like your problems will be a burden to those in your inner circle or feel embarrassed, dial 988. If you are a veteran, take option 1. We need you to keep pushing forward. Don't make a permanent solution to a temporary problem. If you are a new listener, welcome to the Misfit Nation Show. Be sure to subscribe to our show on your favorite podcast app. Also on our YouTube channel at @the_Misfit Nation. Subscribe and click the bell to keep you up to date on our latest episodes and all of our news. You can also find us on Heroes Media Group and About Face Radio. Now, let's get to the show! All right. Welcome back to the Misfit Nation Show. You have yours truly, RJ Bird, here on the mic with you tonight. And we have another good one, y'all. We have a really good one. I'm going to introduce her. She's been here before. She's been on the show before, and I want to welcome her back. As some call her, the Energizer Bunny, best-selling author, award-winning international keynote speaker, neurolinguistic program practitioner, healing breakthrough facilitator, and global dancer, helping audiences break through their limiting mindsets. Let's welcome back Avital Miller.
Thank you so much. I am so excited to be back on your show. I love that intro. I loved don't make permanent solutions to temporary problems.
Man. That's it right there. And how does that, speak to you, and what would you say about that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not necessarily about me personally, and this
Yeah.
might be hard for some people to hear, but it's important to say. And right now, we are facing a time which, in some ways, is a great progression of understanding your gender identity. And what we've also done is the clinics that help kids with sex changes, probably went from having, two of them, maybe less than a dozen of them around the country, right, to probably having a couple hundred. I don't know now. I saw a mapping of the numbers recently, so I'm not saying the exact numbers. And those are permanent changes. And there's also some health risks involved. I just know this because I consult a lot with a doctor friend. And these are changes being requested by children who haven't fully formulated their own identity and who they are. And it's really a time for exploration when we're kids. And so it's more like a temporary thing, like, oh, let me feel this thing. Oh, let me feel this thing. And some of it might stay permanently, but it's hard to know when you're a kid. I know is coming out for me, and I know it's hard to hear because sometimes we feel really clear and we want to make that decision. I don't have a tattoo on my body, partially because I was scared if I put a permanent thing on or something that's hard to remove, and I might not like that in the future.
Yeah, that's so true. And many of us don't realize, sometimes the perfectionist in us, make things that are really just things that you're supposed to work on. But we want it to be perfect right then and there. So because we think that once it's out is permanent. And sometimes it's the other way around. Things that is really just a right now thing is temporary. You can work on it as you go. It's not permanent once you put it out there. And that's kind of one of the things I dealt with getting on this podcast with Rich. I'm like, man, I don't know how I'm gonna do, speaking or asking questions or whatever, but I got better the more I did it. So the first one, it might seem like it's permanently out there, but as we go, the show has been getting better as far as I'm concerned. So I want to kind of I'm getting ahead of myself, and I wanted to ask, if you could, catch us up for those of us who didn't catch the show the first time you were here. Just kind of take us as far back as you would like to go. Introducing yourself. I gave a short introduction, but if you like to add on to that or fill in the details as far back as you would like to go till now, go ahead and shoot.
Well, way back in 1970, no, I'm just kidding.
Oh man, that is hilarious.
We'll go back to me having an engineering degree, me already having been a program manager at Microsoft, and then how I got named the Energizer Bunny. I'm a fitness director. I'm a teacher trainer. I'm teaching 25 to 30 classes all over town.
Wow.
And then I started having issues with fatigue, with my head now, with my muscles turning to fat, and wondering if I was getting weaker than my students. So like any of us, you're wondering, am I going to be out of the job, right?
Yep.
And that's just part of the challenge. Rich isn't here; he isn't live with us tonight, right? Because his voice isn't there. And I did what most of us would do. I went to the doctor. I got a diagnosis of an autoimmune disorder called Hashimoto's, as well as hypothyroidism. Just given a lot of medication, a handful of supplements, sent out the door saying that's it for life. And after I started meditating, I started to not feel well. Now, you might have meditated, and meditation makes you feel good, so that's a little weird.
Wasn't expecting that one. Plot twist.
I went to the doctor, and she ran some tests. And she said, well, that's because you're overdosed on your medication. Interesting. Okay.
Hmm.
So we lower the dosage of medication, and then I continued to meditate, and I meditated more, and I was living in a yoga community, so that's inspiring you to do more. And then I'm not feeling well again.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
Doctor, run the tests, lower the dosage, and I'm going, whoa, this isn't what they said was possible. And you know, when you're going out to buy a new car, you start to see that car everywhere around you.
Everywhere. Yep.
Right? That's kind of like the activating system. So I'm starting to hear stories of other people healing from more extreme situations and terminal diagnoses. Now, I, for a little while, was wondering if I was going to die just because I kept getting worse and it took us so long to figure out what was wrong. But that's not my diagnosis, right? But that is true for other people. And these stories were turning around. And it started to open up my eyes to overcoming seemingly insurmountable challenges. I started to become nicknamed a one-woman campaign against You'll Never. I had other stories of this. So my book, Healing Happens, Stories of Healing Against All Odds, has my story, and then interviews with 17 other health and healing experts sharing all sorts of those miracle healing stories. And I was also told that I could not write. But that book won 4 awards and hit bestseller on Amazon. I was told I could not dance, but here I am finding myself performing at the Miss South India pageant, nationally televised in India and live in front of thousands of people. So I have a number of those stories of how we overcome more than what we expect. And I think that this also starts to open your eyes to, is life really defined as I think it is? And this is like a 1,000 million layered onion. You just keep peeling and peeling. And I keep educating myself with all of the yoga, all of the meditation certifications, energy healing, spiritual counseling, business coaching, neuro-linguistic programming. And now I am back in school for an undergraduate degree in positive psychology. So I'm bringing all of these tools together to continue to support people on their journey to remove whatever is that dirt that covers the beautiful stained glass window that you are.
Stained glass window. I love that. And what a triumphant story. Man. Wow. And how long, you said it was a long time before they kind of figured out what was going on. I'm just interested personally. How long did you kind of go through that phase of what is going on?
Yeah, it's always an interesting story. And I'm a traveler, and I was on one of those trips luxuriating in what you could. So I was in Switzerland, and the chocolate, the bread. So I'm eating all these.
Yeah.
And I'm out hiking one day, and all of a sudden I just collapsed to the ground. And I'm like, okay, what is that? I'm like, all right, I guess I just have to rest my knee and heal it. And so I didn't hike anymore that trip. And then I flew to Israel for my sister's wedding. Remember, I was called the Energizer Bunny, but I was taking naps on the couch constantly. And I was so glad my family didn't make fun of me because I felt so embarrassed, like losing the title, the identity that you have.
Yeah.
And I went home just thinking, oh, okay, that happened. I don't know what that's about, and I went to teach a spinning class, right? I was teaching all the different aerobics classes, and my face turned flush white. I don't think you want me to describe on like Live Network everything that was going on. It's in my book, but
okay.
Students said to me, you should go to the emergency room. And I went to the emergency room, and they ran some tests, and they're like, yeah, I mean, your thyroid's a little off, but you're young, like it should be fine. But I went, and they sent me home. I went home, and I had a fever, and I know that went on for 2 months. And I said to them, that's a little weird. Could we look into this some more? And then so it was a total of quite a few months. What does happen in the process too is going down the rabbit hole, and that can be good and bad, because I thought I had many different diseases and was going to die. And symptoms seem very similar from disease to disease when you're not knowledgeable and you're reading on the internet. But at the same time, I came across something that said, test your, why is the word not coming to me? Test your antibodies.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
And we tested them and they were through, this is Hashimoto's, so the hypothyroidism doesn't seem that off, but the Hashimoto's is really what's causing it. What I will say also from more research on this is there's a lot of other explanations. We don't have to get into the whole medical thing now. But people can connect with me to understand that. But I think it's just important to also, when we're thinking like, what is the truth? What are we given? But there were other layers to understand in this. So being put on medicine didn't actually lower my antibodies.
Man.
So
you said a lot of these symptoms. Say that again?
Yeah. I started to feel better and function, but I didn't heal.
Wow.
So it was the other stuff.
So I wonder, so you said that a lot of these symptoms were in your book. You explained, you go into further detail. What is the book about, though? And the book is called Healing Happens, Stories of Healing Against All Odds.
Yep, Healing Happens. And if you could see my my shelf up there, those who have a visual, that it's right there on the shelf. Sorry, I didn't grab one to put it next to me. It's next to Barbie. I have 50 Barbies. They're all in a box in my garage, but that's the only one who made it out of the box. So the book, like I mentioned, it has my story of healing beyond what was expected, and it has the interviews with all these different types of health and healing experts. There's probably over 20 diseases that are addressed, but it's not about the disease. So what I wanted us to see is what is in common among all these different paths, and that it's not about the path, or it's also about that you tune into what path is right for you. So one path doesn't work for somebody, and then a different one works for them, but then it's reverse for other people. So we can't just say there's one thing for everyone. We can't just say there's one path that just doesn't work. There's one path that works. We really just have to look at that variety there, and then tune into what path is going to be appropriate for ourselves. I do want us to say this too, and what is healing? And one of the stories, the person still passed away, but they improved life in the process of that and elongated it and made it much more peaceful for the family. And healing isn't just about the body not having those conditions that we think that people shouldn't have. So healing is also just about that you're going through a process and allowing that to happen. So what is this process? There's another talk that I've given called Disease is a Sign of Spiritual Progress. And I remember I have an engineering degree. So when I talk about science, I'm going to combine like the woo-woo with the science, and I call it Avital science. Basically what I want you to understand is that all of these components exist within ourselves, the mental, physical, emotional, spiritual, right? And we learn in science class that everything, that all matter is made of, you don't have to be put on the spot, it's energy.
Okay, yeah.
So,
it's the worst place to put me on the spot, like live. Trust me, I will grow mute for some reason.
I know. I'll just give you like the slight pause for anyone who like wants that moment to think for the answer themselves. You got it, but it's energy, and then energy is made of all these frequency vibrational waves. So just to give you that visual effect, anything to also remember science class, and when you're combining chemicals and different chemicals react differently to each other. So you want to imagine that if everything is in synchronicity and harmony, then all those frequency waves, you could say, are moving together. Okay. So now let's say that something really challenging happens in your life, but you learn and you grow from it. Let's say you go to a personal development class. Let's say you start a spiritual meditation practice. There's the non-physical aspects of you that are starting to change. So the physical part's going to go, oh, I want to catch up with that. Like, I got to match that. So could you please slow down so that I could catch up? Because I'm more condensed matter, right? I'm more condensed energy. It takes me a little bit more time. Sometimes, though, the body brings you the awareness that you need to make a change in your life. Some people will move homes, move cities, change jobs, change relationships. And all of a sudden, magic, they start feeling better. So these are all examples of things that I really want to come out through the book as well.
Man, I have to get this book. I have to get this book because I've wondered about some of these things. You know, after a relationship, you know, you're at peace or you're, you know, feeling a lot better. I know I have a couple of you know, issues that are that can come from that are triggered by stress. Which one is Crohn's disease, and then the other is a sciatic nerve from the arthritis in my back. And so whenever stress is high, one of those two things act up. And so a lot of times, as we know, relationships can be stressful. And so after the relationships, you know, I've wondered why, you know, there's the energy, you know, just feels better. You know what I mean? And you know, I've left a job in that same sense, you know, and just like, man, my energy is I just feel so much freer, you know. So I definitely, yeah. Yep. So that's pretty good. You know, so speaking of it, like these shifts, what are like can you explain any like health? Is there any health shifts that people have had from in your book?
Yes.
I know you've probably put all that out there in the book, so I want to hear about it.
Yeah. So why don't I share a couple of stories that are popping into my head? And one of them is Dr. Brooke Goldner. And when she was a teen, she was diagnosed with lupus. And it was so extreme that she was put on chemo in high school. And she survived that. She still had lupus, but she felt better. And she thought, well, I want to be a doctor so I can help other people with this, you know, something similar. And it's not easy, but she's going through it. You know, medical school does not treat people with lupus any differently, right, than other students. And she just always imagined her life would be short. You know, she wouldn't get married because she couldn't have kids, and she would deteriorate as she aged, but she falls in love with Thomas Tadlock. And after only 1 month, he asks her to marry him. It's a cute story because she's like, well, they've just been talking about books and movies. You know, it was only a month there. So you're going to have to know that I've got this thing and I can't have kids and I'm going to deteriorate. And he only pauses for a moment and then he just says, a short life with you will be better than none at all. And she's like, okay, I only ever thought I'd wear a white coat. Now I'm going to wear a white dress. Well, I want to look fantastic. I want to lose some weight. And he says, you're coming to the right person because he used to train people. If anyone who remembers MTV, now music videos on YouTube, right? But he's to quickly work off their partying pooch so they could look good for the next video shoot. And he put her on his diet. Now, she was a vegetarian, so he had to adapt his diet. But I think she wasn't vegan. So all of a sudden she becomes vegan. She's drinking more water. She's eating more greens. And a few months later, she goes through her looks great. She goes through her routine testing with the doctor. There's no lupus.
Man, that is phenomenal.
Gone.
That is phenomenal.
Now, Maureen Bell. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, no. That it just, you know, it makes me wonder, you know, what true medicine really is. You know.
Yeah, and so for her, it was diet, but we could even go to the opposite spectrum, because Maureen Bell's diet was very different for her healing process, and she was on her deathbed. She was diagnosed with stage 3 or stage 4 non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. and given 6 to 8 weeks to live. So just as the doctors predicted, there she was, 80 pounds, morphine patches, oxygen tubes, unable to get up or eat.
Man.
They were expecting her to die any moment. So her son came to visit thinking he's going to say his last goodbyes to mom. But he also remembers the strong single mom who raised him, who knew about energy healing. So he said to her, "Why didn't you fight? Why didn't you fight?" And she's left with this ringing in her head. Oh my God, choice. Do I have a choice? And she, for the first time after kind of meditating on that, sleeping on that, woke up without feeling the pain in her body, having an appetite, and just knew she was going to get better. There's a lot more to the story you can read in the book. But the other interesting thing about her story was she did have one more round of chemo scheduled. And at first she's thinking, no, I'm getting better. I don't need it. But something intuitive said, go ahead and do it and research what's in the chemo drugs. So her body's still weak, so they prop her up on some pillows, sit a laptop on her lap, and she starts looking it up. The first one is vincastrine, made from the vinca plant, which is periwinkle. That was her favorite plant that she planted everywhere she lived as an adult. So I want you to imagine that when people go through chemo, there's a lot of side effects. Now she's in love with the chemo drug that's going into her body. So instead of it taking 9 to 10 hours to get into her body, it takes 3 to 4. Instead of her urine turning blood red, it stays its normal color. The nurses call the doctor because she's gaining weight, her hair's growing back in, and they said, are you giving her a placebo? And the doctor said, no way, we can't do that in her condition.
Wow.
I will say she visited me. She was living in Oregon, and so she visited me at my home on the Oregon coast a few years ago, and this whole story happened about 20 years ago. So, walking, teaching others what she learned from that. Both of those practitioners I mentioned are doing that. They're bringing these gifts to other people from the lessons that they learned through their experience, the same as what I do. So there's so many gifts that we don't just get the gift of life to other people.
Man, I mean, there's got to be tons of stories in there. This is so interesting. I really want to. Do you have this on more than one format? Is this just hardcover, or you have it digital, or?
Yeah, so there is an ebook, and if you go to healinghappensbook.com, then you should be able to see the options there, whether you want the print book or the ebook. And what I will say, I didn't record an audiobook because many of the original interviews are in my podcast. And what I did, some of them didn't quite fit in logistically into the podcast. So there are some interviews that are not even in the book and not on the podcast that are in the online course. So there is a companion course for the book. And there's resources in there, and that's those interviews.
Okay. And that'll be on that website, thehealinghappensbook.com?
Yep. That'll connect you to the online courses as well. Yeah. So
all right.
Take your pick, or just join me in Sit and Succeed on Monday nights, or watch the recordings. But I keep reteaching a lot of these things as well and sharing the stories.
Yeah. Man. I love this, and I'm just trying to figure out. I know you, but I like how you're putting your two different experiences together. Like, how in the world do we have a former Microsoft program manager doing, or being involved with healing, And I know you've kind of touched on this a little bit, but it's just blowing my mind how you're kind of taking a little bit of this, engineering, and then this, this experience from this. How did you, do you put those two together often, or, what are you doing in healing?
Science. Yeah, I mean, it is quite a journey. If we actually rewind, if we're really honest, we don't all really know what we want to be when we're younger. And I had a sense, though, that I wanted to do something where I was really directly working with people and helping people. And I was pushed a little bit in the direction of the engineering because I was very good at the math and sciences, and it seems to be a more dependable career. And so we just kind of keep that in mind, is that quickly I had an internship where I was a project manager at Procter & Gamble for summer at one of their plants. And I thought, oh, good, project management in an engineering company, because then I can combine the technical and the people. So I started doing that at Microsoft, but it's not enough. I'm like, no. Like, I've got to more directly serve the people. And I quit Microsoft and traveled the world for a year. I had already been practicing yoga and Pilates at that point. I grew up as a dancer and a gymnast. This is natural that I have a habit of taking care of my body. And I'm getting stopped everywhere because of this years ago. So this time, people are starting to hear about yoga and Pilates and haven't done it yet, but they're very curious. So I thought, okay, that's my next thing. And I start doing your trainer, a fitness director, and I get all these other. And I start going on the healing path and the spiritual path. And so one step leads into the next. If that helps kind of, answer that question there. And then you're also asking, do I combine that?
Yep.
With you. Woo, but a background, like grounding that the let's actually read out of back period the footnotes. He's actually science. I actually got these. I just never hear anyone else talking about it. And non-physical thing actually has a physical basis that I have previously learned in science. So now I can start to believe in the woo-woo, and then life takes off from there, because when you start to open yourself up, you start to learn about the miracles that can happen for people.
Wow. Man. Oh. All right. So looks like we lost her on due to technical difficulties. But hey, man, listen, you guys, thank y'all so much. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. I will just let you all know that she, man, has a lot to offer. She comes from the, engineering field, and then goes all the way into healing. And that is amazing. But I hope you guys enjoyed what you saw so far. And we really appreciate you. We'll be back soon. All right.
For every veteran, there is a story about a calling to serve, to fight for the freedoms of the American people. And every story has a struggle, a sacrifice, and invisible wounds. Warrior Watts programs help veterans recover from PTSD and invisible wounds through exercise, nutrition, and connecting with other veteran leaders. It is estimated that 22 veterans die each day by suicide, and another 30 veterans die each day by substance abuse. These are preventable deaths. Warrior Watt is committed to fighting PTSD through fitness, nutrition, and community. privilege and opportunity to support our heroes in their time of need. Will you join us and take action?
This is a message from the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs. Got a question about your VA benefits, healthcare, or eligibility? Go to va.gov, where you can access a new interactive chatbot to ask questions 24/7. One can still browse va.gov for information, but you can now ask specific questions to the chatbot, like what's the PACT Act? How do I apply for disability benefits? What's my claim status? You can access the new feature through va.gov's Contact Us page. Then click on the Start Chat button. The chatbot will continue to improve veterans' access to information about the benefits and services they've earned. This is one way VA is offering seamless and secure access to its online resources.
Thanks for checking us out and being a part of the Misfit Nation Show. Don't forget to visit our website at themisfitnation.com. That's themisfitnation.com. Check out all our past episodes and get some of the great Misfit Nation gear for you and your family. As always, be humble, stay hungry, and keep hustling because we are
Misfit Nation. Misfit Nation.